in speed armature current characteristic, the speed is proportional to EB by phi, where phi is constant for DC shunt motor, and EB will remain almost constant as IRA is very small when compared to the full load voltage V or full rated voltage V. Hence EB also fairly remains constant, therefore speed remains constant. Okay, so because of this reason, my DC shunt motor is known as constant speed DC motor. So now we'll move to the third characteristic of DC shunt motor, which is speed torque characteristic, or known as mechanical characteristic. So third one, speed torque characteristic. Okay, so the torque developed is given by which is known as mechanical characteristic, because both the quantities are mechanical quantities. So torque is given by TA is equals to 9.55 EBIA by N. Okay. 9.55 EB into IA divided by N. Okay. So for shunt motor, at rated voltage, EB is almost constant. EB is almost, this already we have seen in the previous characteristic. My EB will remain almost constant here. Okay, EB will remain almost constant. Therefore, my torque TA is proportional to IA by N. Okay. The torque TA is proportional to IA by N. Now, torque TA is proportional to IA and inversely proportional to speed. It is directly proportional to current IA and is inversely proportional to speed N. But there is a linear relation between IA and TA. So as IA increases, TA increases. But with respect to speed, if I see, my torque is inversely proportional to speed. And generally, this is the case in all the motors. Generally, torque and speed are inversely proportional. Okay. Now, torque is inversely proportional to speed. As per this relation, as the speed increases, torque should decrease. As the speed increases, torque should decrease. But the variation in the speed from no load to full load is very much minimum. In the previous characteristic only we have seen, the speed is almost remaining constant. The speed is almost remaining constant. So as much speed is varying, only so much torque is varying. If speed has decreased slightly, then torque will increase slightly. So the variation of torque with respect to speed is very much minimum, because variation of speed with respect to armature current is very much minimum. And armature current, variation of armature current is proportional to variation of torque. Okay. So therefore, as the speed is almost or fairly remaining constant in a DC shunt motor, the torque is also remaining constant for a DC shunt. Okay, with respect to speed, I am talking with respect to speed. Okay. So here, as speed is uh, first we'll see what happens when speed decreases. As speed increases, torque decreases, and vice versa. Actually, I should not say as the speed increases. As the speed decreases, torque increases. Because when I go on loading the motor, speed is decreasing, torque requirement is increasing. So therefore, as the speed decreases, torque increases. Okay. So as speed decreases, torque increases, or as speed increases, torque decreases, and vice versa. But for a DC shunt motor, but as in a DC shunt motor, speed remains almost constant. Speed remains almost constant. Torque remain constant with respect to speed. With respect to speed. It doesn't mean that torque always remains constant. Torque is fundamentally proportional to current. But here, only with respect to speed, my torque is almost remaining constant. So whatever the nature of graph I have for speed versus armature current, I get the same nature of graph. So this is speed, this is armature current. So speed versus speed versus torque is this curve. Because torque is proportional to armature current, and armature current, with respect to armature current, speed is very slightly decreasing. So therefore, the characteristic curve of speed torque will be same as that of characteristic curve of speed armature current. Okay. So this is the third characteristic. So what we can conclude with respect to the characteristics is conclusion. Okay. So the first conclusion is change in speed from no load to full load is minimum. Change in speed from no load to full load is minimum. Therefore, DC shunt motor is constant speed motor. DC shunt motor is constant speed motor. Second point, starting torque is poor. Starting torque of DC shunt motor is poor. As torque is just proportional to armature current. Okay, so these are the conclusions that we derive from the study of characteristics of DC shunt motor. Okay. So is it clear? Any doubts?
No, sir.
Then we'll move to the next characteristic of next motor. The same three characteristics for DC series motor. So characteristics of DC series motor. characteristics of DC series motor. So a DC series motor can be drawn with a series field winding in series with the armature and the supply. So the supply or applied voltage is V volts. It has got a series field resistance RSC. Motor has got armature resistance RA, giving back EMF EB when the current flows in the armature. Okay, so this IA is equals to IL, both are same. Yeah. So here, since the supply, field winding and the armature are in series, okay, the line current, field current and the armature current are same. Okay. So here line current, field current and armature current is same. The same current which is flowing from the line into the field and into the armature. Okay. So here we know that the armature current drawn from the supply depends upon the load. As load demand increases, armature current increases. Okay. So here, as load increases, armature current IA increases. As load increases, armature current IA increases. Okay. And the same current IA is now flowing through the field winding. The same current IA is now flowing through the field winding. Therefore, the field current, which is IA, produce flux proportional to IA. Flux proportional to IA. Okay. That is, phi is proportional to IA. So in DC series motor, flux will not remain constant. Flux will vary with armature current or with load. Okay. And because IA is variable because of load variation, flux is also variable. Hence, DC series motor is known as variable field DC motor. Okay. As IA varies with load and also the phi. Okay. The DC series motor is known as variable field or flux DC motor. So because of this variation in the field with respect to load, okay, or along with the load, has got its advantage as well as disadvantage. Because if the load capacity of the motor is very high, armature current goes very high. But I can't afford very large field currents. No doubt armature current increases. Along with armature current, field current will also increase. It is not only armature current increases. The same armature current now flows through field winding. As a result, field current will also increase. But I can't increase field current for any value, for any large value. Okay, because more and more the magnetizing current is given to any electromagnet, more and more the tendency of saturation increases. Now, what is saturation of magnetic parts? Have you come across this term, magnetic saturation? Or is this the first time you are listening to?
We know about saturation current, sir.
You know what saturation current? Where you studied? In which concept or in which device you studied about this saturation current?
Previous sem, sir.
Where, in which concept?
Transistors.
Transistors. Okay, so there you studied the saturation current beyond which the collector current in the transistor becomes saturated or will remain constant with respect to variation in VCE, in common emitter configuration. Is it? Okay, that is the minimum value of base current. There is a minimum value of base current beyond which, for a particular base current, you will get a saturation current, right? Because your biasing condition depends upon your IB, value of IB, right? So your IB will decide whether the transistor is in active mode, active region, saturation region, or a cutoff region. There you come across, right? Okay, so that saturation is with respect to the charge carriers in the semiconductor. But magnetic saturation, didn't you study hysteresis loss in transformers? And you might have also come across a question that why don't transformers operate with direct current? The one sentence answer for that is due to magnetic saturation. If I apply direct current to transformers, the core will magnetically get saturated. Therefore, the energy transfer will not happen. So this is a one sentence answer for why DC, why the transformers will not operate with DC. You might have come across this because you studied the transformer in the previous course. So there, I think you might have known what is saturation, magnetic saturation. And also you studied the hysteresis and eddy current losses. So when you studied hysteresis loss, you have to put a hysteresis loop while understanding the hysteresis loss. I think there you come across what do you mean by saturation current. Did you or did you not? If not, I will tell. If you have gone through, then we will move ahead. Yes? Did you come across this magnetic saturation and hysteresis loss?
We know about hysteresis loss and eddy current loss, not magnetic saturation.
Okay. Then briefly, I will just go through that for the current requirement. When I look into the losses, when we look into the losses, which is the second part of first module, there I will tell in detail about hysteresis loss once again, and there again we will see what saturation does to a magnetic core. Now it is expected that in an electromagnet, So we have in the fundamentals we have seen there are two types of magnets. One is natural magnet whose magnetic properties are fixed depending upon the size of the natural magnet. If size of natural magnet is very minimum, the magnetic properties are minimum. If the size of the magnet is large, magnetic properties are strong. But whereas in electromagnet, the magnetic properties are entirely depending upon the number of turns and the current flowing through that. Okay. Now let us assume a electromagnetic coil, okay, a simple inductive coil. Electromagnetic coil doesn't mean anything extra. A simple inductive coil which is carrying some current I, and the moment it carries current I, it will create a flux phi. So this flux is proportional to I, and phi is equals to L into I. Now the question arises here is, if I increase this current to infinite value, will the flux increase to infinite value? Because as per the mathematical relation and physical phenomena, it appears that the flux should be always increasing with respect to the current. But will practically this happen? Okay. So when I plot a curve, let me keep it very simple with respect to current and flux. Actually, this is with respect to flux density and magnetizing force. Okay, let this be flux, let this be current. But fundamentally, it is current and flux which is operating. Now, what happens when initially, suppose this coil is wound on a magnetic core? None of the magnetic coils or electromagnetic coils in my motor or any machine is without core. Every electromagnetic coil is wound in the form of winding, and that winding is either in the armature slot or in the field pole. In both the cases, there is magnetic core associated with that winding. So there is a coil, there is a core, a magnetic core. Now upon this I will place a winding. Upon this I will place a winding. So the magnetic field produced around is now not only depending upon the current, not only depending upon the number of turns, but also depending upon what type of core I am using. If the core is electromagnetic core, if the core used is a magnetic core, like a silicon steel, okay, then the electromagnetic field produced is stronger when compared to the core is a non-magnetic substance. Suppose I have a core which is of air, a air core coil, okay, whose relative permeability is 1. Suppose I am using a magnetic core of relative permeability, say mu r is equals to 10. So what does this relative permeability is giving me? That the electromagnetic field produced with a core of mu r 10 is 10 times stronger than the magnetic field produced by the same current and same number of turns when the core is air. Okay. If I use a air core coil and if I use a magnetic core, okay, if its mu r is 10, what does this mean? The flux produced in the iron cored coil with mu r 10 is 10 times more than the flux produced in the air core coil. Okay, so this electromagnetic core, this magnetic core is enhancing the magnetic properties of the electromagnet. Now, this electromagnet, suppose it is a ferromagnetic substance, which is very much conducive for electromagnetic field production. I always say the core saturates. I never say the winding saturates. Winding can carry current for any infinite value. Infinite value means large value. But core cannot produce more magnetism beyond certain limit. Now what happens is, as I go on increasing the current from I to I plus I dash plus I plus 2 I dash, I plus 3 I dash, whatever, where I dash is a delta change. Initially, the variation of flux with respect to current will be linear. After some magnetization, it becomes slightly non-linear. After some magnetization, it saturates. So this is I sat, where beyond this current to the coil, there is no change in the magnetic field. My flux will remain constant. So this is called saturation. This is called magnetic saturation. Why this occurs? Magnetic saturation occurs because all the molecular magnets associated with the ferromagnetic substance, there is a molecular magnetic theory. Okay, it is a theory. How to answer this question is, there is a theory which is called a molecular magnetic theory or micromagnetic theory. Okay, so all the molecular magnets associated in the iron core will be oriented in one particular direction because of the direction of the current that is producing the field. Okay, so once all the molecular magnets orient, there are no further molecular magnets to orient themselves and increase the field strength. So the magnetic field strength will remain constant. Hence, we say the core saturates. Once the core saturates, d phi by dt becomes 0. There is no change in flux with respect to time. Once the core saturates, the energy conversion in the machine, rotating machine, stops. Energy transfer in the transformer stops. So I should make sure never ever my transformer core or motor core or generator core will magnetically saturate so that my d phi by dt becomes 0. It should never happen. Once it happens, then my motor or generator stops converting the energy, even though you are giving the input energies. So this is called saturation. Now coming to this point where phi is proportional to Ia, it appears whatever may be the value of Ia it is taking from the load, taking from the supply, the flux will increase. No, flux will not increase beyond certain limit. What is that limit? Is the saturation limit. Beyond saturation point of the flux, I can call it as phi sat. The maximum value of flux beyond which the flux saturates. So always I should be operating my machine in this left side of the curve. Only here I have to operate my every machine. Once it goes beyond phi sat, then gone. The machine will stop operating, converting the energies. In whichever way it may be converting, mechanical to electrical or electrical to mechanical or electrical to electrical in transformers. So this is called core saturation. So here in series motor, I should take care that the number of turns whatever I choose. In the construction of series motor, we have seen the number of turns should be minimum and cross section of the conductor should be maximum because the resistance should be kept to minimum. There I told the number of turns must be minimum, but how many we never discussed there. So number of turns in series DC series motor should be depending upon the maximum value of current that is DC series motor can carry, because it is the turns into current that will decide the flux. Flux is always proportional to ampere turns. If ampere turns are high, flux produced are high. If flux produced is high and if it is beyond saturation point, then the core will enter the saturation region. Then until the core comes back from saturation region, my energy conversion stops. How to take back from the saturation region? A large amount of reverse magnetizing force has to be applied to the core. Now now suppose the operating point has come to this point in the curve. Now I want to get back here before the saturating point. Then what should I do? I should increase the current in the reverse direction. That is, I should apply minus I. A large minus I should be provided. Then the operating point will come in the non-saturation region. Okay. Then the motor may start operating again. So here the flux phi is not directly proportional to IA. It is directly proportional to IA only till saturation. Once saturation occurs, flux remains constant. And it is of no use for me because energy conversion stops. I am using motor to convert electrical energy into mechanical. So when this conversion itself has stopped, what is the functionality of the motor for which I should use for my application? Okay. So this point is important to be taken into account. Is it clear? In detail,
Yes,
again,
sir.
I will tell. Yes. Yes. Any doubts? Any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay. Again, in detail, I will go into this saturation and hysteresis loss when we look into the motor losses. But time being, I think this you understood what magnetic saturation means. Okay. There I will also deal the molecular magnetic theory for a moment. Briefly, I will explain what is molecular magnetic theory in ferromagnetic substances. Okay. Now, for time being, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So with this, we will move ahead with characteristics of DC series motor. The same three characteristics what we saw for shunt motor, we will look again. So the first characteristic is torque versus armature current. Torque armature current characteristic. And that is TA, sorry, IA. TA, IA characteristic. So we have the equation for TA. Okay, so we have TA is equals to 0.159 phi Z IA into P by A. Now again, for any given motor, Z, P and A are constant. These are constants. Therefore, TA is proportional to phi into IA. Okay. But in series motor, we have seen phi is proportional to IA. In series motor, phi is proportional to IA. Therefore, TA is proportional to IA into IA. That is TA proportional to IA square. So here torque is proportional to square of armature current. Torque is proportional to square of armature current. But torque is not always proportional to square of armature current. Up to what value it will be proportional? Until magnetic saturation. Is it? Just now I have discussed that phi is not proportional to IA all the time. Phi is not proportional to IA all the time. Phi is proportional to IA until magnetic saturation. Once magnetic saturation of the core occurs, then phi no more is proportional to Ia. Phi is independent of Ia. It will remain constant. Even when I go on increasing the current, even if you increase current for 10 times, my flux will not change. It will remain same. So phi is proportional to Ia only till saturation. Okay. So as a result, what I can say, but okay. So but we have seen that and many books have not covered this part of saturation discussion. Okay, this part of saturation discussion is nicely given in V.K. Mehta textbook. Okay, Principles of Electrical Machines by V.K. Mehta, Eschan Publications. That is one of the finest book where it is very what we can say, very good in understanding theoretical concepts. Very butterly smooth explanation he has given in understanding the machines. Okay, so you can refer that textbook also if you get. That is very good. Though he has not solved many examples on motors, as many in Therese and other textbooks, but the theoretical explanation is very finely given, very finely given. Okay? So you can refer that V.K. Mehta textbook, Principles of Electrical Machines by V.K. Mehta in Yaschand Publications. Okay? But we have seen that flux is proportional to Ia only till magnetic saturation. Only till magnetic saturation. After and after this, flux is constant. Okay. So with respect to this statement, when I observe this equation, now TA is proportional to Ia in place of phi, but only up to saturation. After that, this Ia will remain, or the effect of phi will remain constant. So what is the resultant here? We can conclude that the armature torque is proportional to square of armature current till magnetic saturation. After magnetic saturation, it is proportional to only armature current, which is a linear relationship. Okay. Therefore, we can say that the armature torque developed is proportional to square of Ia till saturation. And is linearly proportional after saturation. After magnetic saturation. Okay. So I can write TA proportional to Ia square before saturation before magnetic saturation, and TA is proportional to Ia after magnetic saturation. Now, when I draw the curve, taking the saturation also into the account. And this is TA, this is IA. So in the initial part, it will be direct quadratically proportional, that is IA square. So a curve will be a parabola. After the saturation, the curve will be a straight line. Okay. This you can say IA sat. This is for field, not for armature. Okay, so this is for field and not for armature. So OA is parabola and AB is a straight line. It is square, it is linear relation. Okay. Any doubt so far? But one thing we should consider here, practically we don't operate any motor beyond saturating point, right? Just now I have told what happens if saturation occurs. Practically, the energy conversion stops. I don't want to stop energy conversion in my motor because I am using motor for energy conversion from electrical to mechanical. So I want mechanical work to be done. Therefore, I am using a motor. And if I try to operate motor in saturation region, my energy conversion will stop. Then even this TA proportional to IA sometimes may not be valid, because when energy conversion stops after magnetic saturation, there is no meaning of operation of motor. So practically, always the motor is operated below magnetic saturating point. That we have to see here. But practically, motor is operated below magnetic saturating point. Okay, so therefore my flux, my torque is always proportional to I square. Therefore, practically, TA is proportional to I square or series motor. Or series motor. Okay. Then the characteristic will be, therefore, characteristic curve is as shown. Only the OA part of the curve will be present practically. Okay. So this is the torque armature current characteristic of a DC series motor. Okay. Now one more thing what we can observe here is, because the torque is proportional to Ia square, if I increase current by twice, torque will increase by 4 times. If I increase current by thrice, torque will increase by 9 times. So I can say the DC series motor is having a large starting torque. Okay. Since TA is proportional to IA square, series motor has got large starting torque. It has got a large starting torque. Okay, so I can apply heavy loads on it and start it. Okay, therefore, it is more suitable to use with heavy loads. Okay, so I can start the motor also with heavy load. Actually, the series motor has to be started with load on it. I can't start DC series motor with no load condition, at no load condition. Why? We will see in next characteristic. So the best example for DC series motor application is traction motors. It is used in almost all traction applications. No electric trains. Okay, most of the electric trains use a DC series motors. Most of the electric trains use DC series motors because it has got very large starting torque when compared to any other motor, and it is simple in operation. Okay, so that is the reason why DC series motors are generally used in almost all traction applications. Okay, then the second characteristic, so shall we take a break for 10 minutes?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll have a break for 10 minutes and we'll continue with the second character.